Welcome to this week's episode of LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I am your host, Bronagh Morgan, and it's a pleasure to be your host because I get to talk to so many interesting people about the issues that are important to you, that are important to me as somebody who lives here in London, people who live in southwestern Ontario. We're having a great season because we've changed the times that we record, so we've been able to bring on more of the city councillors here in London that you would like to hear from. And here is another awesome city councillor, first term city councillor, Ward 1.
Yes, that's great.
Hadleigh McAlister, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule because I know people say council's a part-time job, but it's not part-time job, is it?
No, I don't know how anyone could do it part-time and do it properly, to be honest, because it takes up a lot of time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So prior to being a councillor, so you are a first-term councillor, and congratulations again on your results in the election.
Thank you.
What was Hadleigh McAlister up to prior to the election?
Yeah, so prior to the election, I actually worked at Canada Life, so just across the road from City Hall. So I'd been there for about 8 years. I studied politics back in the day, and like so many other folks, I went west for a while, worked out there, and then decided to come back to London. That's where my home is, so I wanted to come back here, and public service means a lot to me, and it runs in my family, and I wanted to be able to give back to the community.
Fantastic. So what was it that made you decide to run in that particular election?
Yeah, I think, the last few years have obviously been challenging for a lot of folks. I think I came out of COVID having an even stronger desire for public service. I always, for me, Ward 1, very near and dear to my heart, where my family is, and I really felt it was an area that was a bit neglected. There's a real stigma around the East End, and I wanted to break down those barriers and show people what the real East looks like and how the people who live there have a lot of heart, and I really wanted to showcase that. Absolutely.
That's actually one of the mottos, I think, of a community center that we love hanging around at, which is Hamilton Road has heart.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I noticed this too, because I'm not native to London. I've been here for about 20 years now, and immediately when I moved here, I think I moved right to downtown, and I heard about this divide between the East and the West. What's with that as somebody who grew up in London?
Yeah, it's strange. There's always been that the unofficial demarcation being east of Adelaide, right? And I know a lot of people in London have never gone east of Adelaide, and I've always thought it was crazy because there's a whole other world to explore, and I think that there is so much interesting and wonderful things in the east, whether that's enjoying the parks down by the Thames. Meadow Lily's beautiful. There's so many interesting restaurants, a lot to choose from. And the community really pulls together over there. Those are older, more established neighborhoods, but there's a lot of families, generations who have, raised their families over there, and they love it, and I love it too.
It really is. So London, I think it reminds me of Toronto, it reminds me of Calgary, it reminds me of other places that I've lived as well. It really is a combination of neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. So it really gives you this sense of community, but in particular, Ward 1. It's just a wonderful place to be. I don't live in Ward 1, but I work a lot in Ward 1, and just it's very diverse.
Yeah.
And the way that people come together for something like a neighborhood party is just, everybody is kind of like on the same page. Like everybody is there to support each other and really connect and have a good time together.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Ward 1, it really is a collection of a few areas. So the way I usually break it down, we have the far stretch of Hamilton Road, which is pretty much Veterans Memorial. So there's the River Road area out that way. And then you've got Fairmont, which is just off of Hamilton Road. And then Hamilton Road itself, a lot of streets branch off of there. And then Glencairn, obviously in the south. Because I do have the northern part of Pond Mills, which sometimes people forget. And mine goes as far west as Wellington. So I also have the stretch of Wellington as well.
So that is a lot of different people and different interests. So you probably did a lot of banging on doors during the election. And I'm sure you're still accessible because I know that, people can just reach out to you through your council email. People can call you. And I have heard that you're one of those councillors that, we see you at events all the time. And you're somebody that is really connected with the people in the community. So what were you hearing during the election and then since then about what are the concerns of the constituents of Ward 1?
Yeah, and I do think, some of them are broader and they're impacting a lot of us. Obviously, the housing and homelessness is a big one that came up a lot during the election. I think also in the east, the one that I found interesting, and I've really tried to make inroads with it too, is with the rec facilities in our parks. We actually have a lot of parks in Ward 1, and even the rec facilities, it's very near and dear to people's hearts. Like we've got older arenas which have kind of aged out, but the community pools were a big one, especially in Glencairn. So one of my big priorities was getting the pool reopened. And I was really happy that I was able to do that for the first summer in office, because I know it meant a lot to that area, and I was happy to do that. And I know everyone's eagerly waiting for the next one, and Silverwoods is probably the next one on my list, because I know that one needs some attention as well. I'd say infrastructure was another big one. People are always concerned, especially with the traffic in the city is obviously a bit of a nightmare. So each neighborhood has its own unique challenges for that. A lot of people speeding, so there's a lot of requests in terms of getting speed bumps or getting sidewalks. Because the other thing with the East End, a lot of those older neighborhoods don't actually have sidewalks. When they were built, they weren't required. So there's a lot of things that are kind of taken for granted in other parts of the city that the East has been trying for a while. And so I'm chipping away at those and trying to get those done. There were also quite a few buildings that kind of fell onto the demo list, as I like to call it. And the KFC was a real pain point for the Hamilton Road area, and I was really happy that that just recently got demolished. Ideally, I don't want to see buildings, demolition by neglect when they're left for that long. But really, it becomes a problem for the community if nothing's done with it. And I was happy that I was able to get that removed, and hopefully something productive can go in there. And ideally, I'd love to see some more housing along that stretch.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Hamilton Road's such a vibrant part of town. Mm-hmm. So many awesome restaurants, awesome businesses, and mm-hmm. that community center, library, seniors and community center across the street. Just what a great, part of London. So mm-hmm. did you grow up in that area?
So I actually describe myself more as a central Londoner, because
Gotcha.
I've lived west, center, and east. So right through the middle of London is kind of how I described myself, because I've lived right through the middle of it. I've enjoyed them all for different reasons, but I really think the east speaks to me. And what's interesting too is my mother is actually originally from the London, England, East End. So when she moved here, obviously natural transition to live in the East End of London as well. So it's been great with all my family over there. So it's been really nice.
All right, so we don't have a ton of time before the break, but just mm-hmm. getting into your first term as a councillor, how are things going? Any surprises?
I think there were obviously some learning curves, like with any new job. I think it definitely took us a while as councillors to kind of figure out the role and how council runs. I think everyone's had different experiences with that, but I think it definitely took us a while to kind of get the ropes in terms of how things run and just how to interact with staff. And I feel very comfortable at this point now, but I definitely think at the beginning we probably had some long meetings, and I think if we'd gone into that with a bit more know-how, we would have had some earlier meetings and actually been able to have dinner.
Nice. And how about committee work? So what committees are you serving on?
So in terms of the city committees, so I'm on Civic Works and Corporate Services. I also sit on a bunch of boards and commissions as well. So I'm on the Hamilton Road BIA, also sit on the Dearness Long-Term Care, London Middlesex Housing, and so those are a couple of the ones I sit on. I've really enjoyed it. For me, housing was a big one that I wanted to really dive into. And so I like having that insight and being able to talk with people about that, because it's such a massive topic for the city.
Absolutely, so important. And I think it's probably helpful that you have lived in so many mm-hmm. parts of London, because I guess that brings you that perspective that this is an issue that kind of unites all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've seen that kind of reflected in some of the hot topics for the city. Like I know we each represent our respective wards, but I really would like to see London pull together more, because I think unfortunately sometimes we fall into the tendency, it's the small town mentality in a large city, and sometimes our neighborhoods don't see past that. And there's some issues, especially when you look at something like housing, where we really do have to pull together and do it as Londoners.
Absolutely, and we're going to dive more into that issue after the break, but we do have to take a break, so please stay with us. And please stay with us as well, viewers, because we'll be back with more LDNOnt TV after the break.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
Carbon monoxide is a deadly gas you can't see, smell, or taste.
Homes with fuel-burning appliances and/or attached garages must have working CO alarms installed outside all sleeping areas.
Don't let the silent killer get you. Install working CO alarms today.
Hi everyone, my name's Ranger M. I love to knowledge share, and that's just what I'm going to do with you. So come on, let's go learn with Ranger M.
I'm sure right now a lot of you feel like you aren't able to be who you truly are.
What's most important, more important than everybody else knowing who you are, is that you know who you are.
As a young person, time moves slower for you. And just know that things will get better.
It Gets Better Canada is a registered Canadian charity with a focus on uplifting our queer youth through the power of digital storytelling.
As a Two-Spirit person, I use they, them pronouns, but that's not the case for every Two-Spirit person.
There are so many voices out there that we didn't have 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
No matter what your mind tells you, you really are perfect the way you are, so stop beating yourself up so much.
I'm gonna be a boy in a dress, because why not?
Your identity is explosive.
We all have our unique journeys, but one thing that connects us all is the desire to be happy, the desire to celebrate being our authentic selves.
You're watching Rogers TV.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. I'm your host, Bronagh, and we are chatting with Ward 1 Councillor, first-term Councillor, congratulations again. It is a big learning curve for sure, Hadleigh McAlister. I actually, when we met, it was when I was moderating a debate. I think it was put on by Remember 11 November Association. You did great, but I liked how there was a lot of diversity of thought between the different candidates and as well as the people in the crowd. So it just really goes to show you, like, everybody. We're a very diverse city with a lot of different ideas, but the goal is kind of to listen to all those ideas and come up with solutions to the common problems that we can all live with and that are going to move us forward in a good way. And so the response to unhoused, the proliferation of unhoused people and how that number keeps on going up, and the impacts that has on infrastructure, on everything in London, the way people run their businesses, the way people live, and obviously our most vulnerable citizens, that's a solution that we all have to come together on, regardless of where you live in London, what your opinion is, because we need to have a way forward. So how are you, I guess, processing all of this information that's coming in? Because people are calling, people are emailing about this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, going into this, I really wanted to listen to the experts, right? Because this is something that we've dealt with for a while. The summits, I thought, were such an inspiring thing to have all of those people brought to the table, all presenting their perspective, different ideas. And there was a lot presented of those things, right? Like, we got a lot of information from them. And at the end of the day, they're the ones who are really servicing that community, right? So when it came to what was put forward in terms of the hub propositions, I thought it was a great idea. I know, obviously, people had their reservations in terms of maybe where they were located, but it is a London problem. It affects all of us. I mean, poverty has no boundaries, right? And it's hitting cities across Canada. Everyone's kind of approaching it maybe a slightly bit different, but I really do think that this is the right way forward. And the reason for that is what I've heard, like, I've done meetings and tours and one-on-ones with a lot of people who work for these social agencies, and we're really missing those wraparound services. And right now we have just a bit of a stopgap system in terms of we shelter people for a short amount of time, but there's not really any long-term solutions. And I think what I really saw with this was a way forward to actually help people, get them on a road to recovery, and contribute to that housing continuum that the mayor always talks about, in terms of this is the first step in someone's journey in terms of getting back on their feet and getting back on the housing continuum.
So it's a housing first strategy?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, housing is healthcare in a way. We aren't obviously funding all of this. A lot of this money will come from the province, and it was great to have that generous donation from a Londoner for that 25 million. But yeah, getting people housed is really the first step, but having those supportive services in-house is really important. And we've seen that with something like the Inwell model. They're very well known for having that wraparound service support model where, you know, you bring people in, give them a place to live, but you really, you know, build that community while helping them in terms of restoring their physical and mental health at the same time.
Absolutely. And it really is something that anybody in the community can get behind, because there is a role, when you talk about wraparound services, there's a role for everybody to help, whether it's volunteering or bringing what your skills are to the table to provide that wraparound support, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of agencies that, you know, are still looking for volunteers. I know volunteerism took a little bit of a hit in the last couple of years, especially with COVID, but there are a lot of agencies that do a lot of good. I mean, I highly recommend, if people aren't already volunteering, that there's a lot of good ones, I'm sure, in their neighborhood, and they would really appreciate the assistance. I mean, I also have the food bank in my ward, and they've seen a large increase as well, and any donations people can make to places like the food bank, I'm sure, is greatly appreciated throughout the city.
So this was your first term in politics. Good experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Even on you know, your worst weeks, I think what really keeps me going is I actually have a folder just for thank you messages, because it is a thankless job, but I think all of us appreciate it when we get those thanks, because I think in our own way we're all trying to make a difference. Each area of the city obviously has you know, specific issues they're trying to tackle, but for me, I just wanted to come into this job and make a difference, and it's nice to know that, you know, that's resonating with people, and I do feel like I'm making an impact, so that means a lot to me.
That's fantastic. How about interacting with your council colleagues? Are you learning a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we all represent very different parts of the city, right? So I think it's great when you're around the Horseshoe that everyone's bringing a different perspective to the table, and that's really what we're there for, right? We all have, you know, differing points of view, but really you need that diversity to make a decision, because we're all individuals, and at the end of the day, we each have to make a decision, and we have to do it knowing, you know, this is what my people want, and we have to represent that accordingly.
Exactly. All right. So we talked a lot about the hub model. What other issues are really near and dear to your heart? And let's say over the rest of your term, and whether or not you decide to run in the next election municipally, what would feel like, what are your other goals? Or what would feel like a win at the end of your term?
Yeah, I know it's a lofty goal, but I think a lot feeds into this, and I think because the East has kind of often been forgotten, that like urban regeneration is a big part of it. You know, whether I'm talking to constituents, the BIA, you know, just the school board, like there's a lot that feeds into that in terms of bringing the communities back. I think, like I said before, unfortunately, I think for years it has kind of fallen by the wayside, and so for me, those big wins are bringing life back to those communities, and that takes many different forms. For me, there's basic things like the roads need work. I want, you know, to be more user-friendly in terms of whether that's like cycling with the TVP, or whether, you know, the roads are in better shape so people can get around, getting sidewalks, like the basics, like I was saying before. But even things like the community centers, they mean such an important thing, like the parks even, right? Those are things that people use. They really do build community, and I want to see those brought back to life. And that's why I started with Glencairn, and I'm kind of working my way through a list. There's many parks, but those rec facilities mean a lot to people. And I'd say the other one is, it's definitely housing. I mean, it's nice to finally see we're getting applications through for the East, which we haven't previously seen, because obviously there's been a lot of growth in London, but it's an area that has a lot of potential, and I'm happy that people are starting to see that, and I really want to promote the area and bring people to the East to see the awesome place it is.
I'm 100% on the same page with you in terms of like how awesome it is. We chatted with Councillor Cuddy as well about making different parts of the city more accessible through active transit. Yep. So it's great that you're mentioning the Thames Valley Parkway. Working together with him on that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the big part of it is the connectivity, right? We have a lot of systems right now, but they're a bit disjointed. So I mean, obviously, it takes some time to get all the pieces together, but it is great to see that people are using it. The TVP is a great one in terms of getting to all the parks that I was mentioning before, especially along the Thames River. Like, it's such a beautiful area, especially places like Meadow Lily, too. If you haven't been there, like, I highly recommend it to everyone because it is like one of the natural gems of the East, and it's such a beautiful area to explore.
Absolutely, 100% agree. So we only have a couple of minutes left. Anything coming up in terms of what our viewers can get involved with? Obviously volunteering, but are you up to anything in your ward or in the city at large coming up in month November that people can engage with you, maybe even late October?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different festivals going on with different community organizations I always recommend. Obviously, fall, great time to explore. Like I was saying, like if you haven't got a chance to see some of the natural areas, the parks or Meadow Lily, this time of year is beautiful to explore these.
Absolutely.
With all the leaves changing color. Yeah, I mean, if people want to volunteer, there's a lot of good organizations as well. And as we go into the holiday season, it's always great if people are able to donate, whether that be your time or some donations to different organizations. That's always appreciated as well.
That's what community is all about, public service is all about, and it seems like it's really agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time to come visit with us today. Hope you'll come back and see us again, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you on Hamilton Road.
Well, can I make one last minute plug? I just want to encourage everyone, if you haven't already done so, please come and explore Ward 1. There's a lot of great businesses to check out. I'm sure the people would really appreciate it. We're friendly folk, and we'd be happy to have you.
Thank you so much. So thank you for watching, but I don't want you to go away because as always, we have a youth wrapping up our show after this break, so please stay tuned for more LdnOnt TV.
This program is brought to you by the following sponsors.
After a night out with your friends, there's always options for getting home safely. You could call your BFF, your mom or dad, whoever you can count on for a safe ride home. You could call your favorite cab company or 1-888 taxi guy, or you could use the Arrive Alive smartphone app to help you choose your ride. Be it a friend, transit, or taxi, getting home safely is app easy. Now available for iOS and Android devices. Visit arrivealive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive, drive sober.
Welcome to Treat Yourself.
I'm Jennifer Slay, the host of What's Up London. Join me each week as I meet Londoners who are doing extraordinary things and helping to make the city a better place to live. Watch What's Up London Mondays only on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to LdnOnt TV here on Rogers TV. So, fascinating conversation we just had with Ward 1 Councillor Hadleigh McAlister. Another fascinating conversation. As always, we end our show with a young person who got something interesting going on. Again, I am a big fan of coding. Don't know much about it. Don't have no skills, but I love the idea of yet another language that people can learn. So coding is, we've talked to people from Code Ninjas before about, the whole way the business works and how young people are getting educated in this new language. Hassan is here today, and she is yet another black belt graduate of the whole Code Ninjas program here in London. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. So you've obviously made it all the way through all of the learning at Code Ninjas. How long were you a ninja?
I was a ninja for 3 years.
3 years to get to the black belt level?
Yes.
And did you have fun in the process?
I had lots of fun.
How often did you go? Every week?
Every week, but once I got to like red belt or black belt, I'd go twice a week.
Nice. All right. So you obviously love this work. You're happy enough to go after school and take the time to learn this language. Is it difficult?
No, not that much.
And do you use it in other parts of your life?
Yeah, I think I would use it in other parts of my life. Like I might have some draft games I would do just for fun.
Fantastic.
If I have nothing to do in my free time.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so for those people who don't know, you learn all different pieces of how to code as you work your way through those 3 years of ninjas. And the goal is to get to the black belt level where you completely do all of the coding and all of the work behind making your own game.
Yes.
All right. So you made it. So tell me about that process and tell me about your game.
So my game is like a trajectory game where you have an animal in each level and you're gonna have to try and hit them on the targets, which is the boxes, and make them get the stars. And once you get the stars, it would teleport you to the next level. So I have 5 levels, it's just with 1 star. But there's 3 extra bonus levels. Level 6 with 2 stars, level 7 with 3 stars, and level 8 with 4 stars. There's different objectives because there's different challenges for them. So in like level 1, there's 2 eagles flying, and if you hit them, you lose a life and you restart. While in the bonus levels, there's like water puddles, and I messed up with the gravity for space in level 8. That was all part of the plan, and so you can't really get all the 4 stars, but you're gonna have to try.
Awesome. So, and you created all of this out like from your imagination?
Yeah.
That's incredible. So why animals?
'Cause animals are just a fun thing to play with.
Yeah.
Like imagine having dogs and cats as pets. We can use it in games.
And what's the name of your game?
Happy Animals.
Ah, of course. All right, so what kind of feedback? What are you hearing from people who have played the game?
Some of my friends have played it for me and they said it's a really, really fun game. Like sometimes it brings the stress down for them, but sometimes it can make them really angry if they don't get the star. But they said they really like it.
Fantastic. Now that you've finished, I guess, Code Ninjas, do you have goals of making any more games?
As I said, I might be making draft games, and I might just play them, me and my brother, for as something in my free time. But I want to try and make a second Happy Animals.
Ah, like the sequel.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And then, do you think that this might be something that you would like to do when you're all finished your education?
Yeah, I think so.
Anything else that you're interested in? Art, music?
I'm an athletic girl. I'm a really, really sporty girl. I love sprinting, basketball, soccer, badminton, name anything, and I could almost play.
Oh my gosh, so you are, I don't know how many threats that would be, more than a triple threat. Well, it sounds like you have a lot on the go. So thank you so much. And can people play your game?
Yes, you can play it on slither.io or the website of Code Ninja's Black Belt website, where all of the other Black Belters have their games.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Hassan, for coming on the show. It sounds like you have a lot on the go, so I appreciate you taking the time. Same with Councillor McAlister, and same with you, viewers. I'm glad that you've chosen to spend some time with us today here at LdnOnt TV, and I hope you'll tune in again next week. I'm your host, Bronagh. Have a great week.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Online betting is booming. Booyah! Woo! Oh yeah! You can win big! But you could also lose. There is risk with online gambling, and that's a reality nobody's shouting about. Learn about safer play at knowtherisks.ca.
In the family with addiction, the person with the addiction becomes front, center all the time.
Addiction and substance use affects all the layers of our society.
Everything was about trying to out him and fix him and